Good afternoon, Mayor, members of Council. My name is Alex Hamilton, Fire Chief for the Oxnard Fire Department. This afternoon, I'm bringing forward a purchase order for the purchase of 3 new fire engines. So the recommendation before you this evening is for the Council to approve and authorise the Mayor to execute a purchase order for South Coast fire equipment in the amount of $2,603,358.21 for the purchase of 3 Pierce fire engines. Additionally, a budget appropriation recognising and appropriating $53,359 from the Lease Purchase Equipment Fund 313. For a little bit of background, $2,550,000 was approved for the purchase and upfitting of 3 fire engines in this fiscal year's operating and capital improvement budget in the Lease Purchase Fund 313 that I just mentioned. That estimate was based on our previous purchase with a small increase based on inflation, but it was based on an estimate from the last time we purchased fire engines back in December of 2018. That $850,000 per engine was supposed to cover the cost of not only the engine, but the upfitting costs as well. Unfortunately, as you can see there on the second bullet point on that slide, inflation has gone up considerably and continues to do so. And so the last time we purchased an engine in 2018, the cost you can see there was $698,544. Unfortunately, that's now increased to $867,786 per engine, which is where the need is for that additional budget modification. So currently, just to provide a little bit of background, currently the Oxnard Fire Department does not have an engine replacement plan. We are developing one as we speak, and that will be part of the strategic plan we hope to release in the not too distant future. However, you can see here that the agencies around us give you some context. And so LA City Fire Department replaces their frontline apparatus after 10 years. Here locally, 12 years is more the standard. And then the NFPA, or National Fire Protection Association, standard for automotive fire apparatus, recommends that an engine service life should not exceed a total of 25 years. And that's for both frontline and reserve service. So you can see here the engines there that are highlighted in yellow are the engines slated to be replaced. And so you can see the newest of those engines is 13 years old. And obviously we're still a year out from receiving these new fire engines. So we're well past the due date for these engines to be removed from frontline service. However, they will still stay in our fleet as a part of our reserve fleet. And so this next slide shows you the engines that will be removed from service. And so those engines have now exceeded their service life of 25 years of service. And so I think the thing to highlight here is that although this is a very significant investment, these engines are very expensive without a doubt. Our personnel take meticulous care of these engines, as does our fleet services partners over at the City Garage. And that is where we have engines from 1997 that if you were to look at them, you would think they're almost brand new. We take excellent care of these things because we understand the investment that the taxpayers are making. So further discussion. So the procurement process for these engines started immediately after the budget was adopted. And so we are actually able to use what is known as a piggyback clause from City of Los Angeles contract. So the LA City Fire Department went through the procurement process and bid process to choose Pierce engines. And that within that contract, there was a clause that allowed other agencies to piggyback off of that contract. So obviously LA City has a lot more purchasing power than we do, with I think they have somewhere in the vicinity of 120 stations around the city of Los Angeles. So we're using that piggyback clause. The specification was finalized in December of last year. These things are built relatively custom for each individual agency. And so we finally got a quote from the vendor almost at the end of last year. As you can see there, we were on December 31st, we were notified that there was going to be a 7%, further 7% price increase that is to take effect on February 1st of this year. And that would equate to just over $57,000 price increase on each one of these engines. Initially, when we signed on to this piggyback clause with the LA City contract, we were under the impression that the price was not going to increase until May 1st of this year. And so our target goal to bring this forward to council was in the month of February. Obviously, we've had to bring that forward early with the new information we received that price increase was actually going to be February 1st. That is part of the reason why, unfortunately, this did not originate in committee. And so one of the reasons that the change was made and that the price increase was in February and not in May is because the specification that we used was different enough from LA City's specification. One of the biggest changes that we made that LA City has not adopted was what's known as a clean cab design. The idea behind the clean cab design is to ensure that as little carcinogenic toxins get into the cab of the fire engine where our fire personnel ride around in the engine. And so our current fleet of engines, the self-contained breathing apparatus we use, our turnouts, all of that equipment is in the cab with the personnel. What we've found is, particularly after fires, is that equipment continues to off-gas carcinogens after a fire. And so what we're aiming to do is to reduce the risk to our firefighters of ingesting or absorbing carcinogens, because cancer is the leading cause of death for firefighters across the United States. Another piece that, in the interest of trying to save our taxpayers some money, is that finance has agreed that the best move forward is to prepay the cost of these engines, and that saves us an additional $87,000 than if we were to pay upon receipt of these engines. And so for the reserve engines that will be removed from the fleet, they'll be evaluated and a determination will be made as to the best place to donate them. And so in the past, we've donated retired fire equipment to our sister city down in Mexico, or to our local Oxnard College Regional Fire Academy, so that we can train future firefighters that hopefully will come and work for us here in Oxnard. So the financial impact for this purchase order, as I mentioned previously in this PowerPoint, we were previously allocated $2,550,000 for the purchase of these three engines. There was a small budget appropriation of $53,359 that would cover the cost of the price increase for the engine itself. However, the upfitting costs of these engines, that's a lot of the equipment that is needed to supply these engines. We estimate that at around $165,000 per apparatus. Some of that equipment would come off old engines, but some of that equipment would be needed to be purchased. That $165,000 figure is an estimate at this point, and we will be looking to request funding that in the next budget year, because we certainly won't be receiving these engines before July of 22. And with that, I would be open to any questions the council might have. Thank you, and I appreciate the time.